The New Orleans Saints targeting former All-Pro Jalen Ramsey. Major cornerback issues in New Orleans. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to turn a good Friday into a great Friday. It's when you get a haircut like this, okay? No hat today because I got a haircut, feeling good, looking good, sounding good. Sombre right here is going to tell us why the Saints should target All-Pro Jalen Ramsey. Now, I'm going to backload. Pause. Hold up. I'm going to backload my answer because I want this to be an interactive choose-your-adventure type game. Okay? My audience is probably the smartest audience, I think, in YouTube. So you know the answer. Go down in the comments below. We'll see how many of you get it right. Don't cheat. Don't edit the comment, all right? Don't edit the comment. Don't be scared to death. Quit shaking. Quit trembling, okay? Do you think the Saints should sign Jalen Ramsey or trade for Jalen Ramsey? It's not a sign. It's a trade. If not, explain your reasoning. If yes, explain your reasoning. And I'll give my answer in about probably 30 seconds.
Ramsey has asked for a trade from the Miami Dolphins. The three-time All-Pro corner. Him and the Dolphins will mutually seek a trade. Now, obviously, the New Orleans Saints have come up quickly in conversation for many trying to predict Ramsey's next landing spot. Obviously, the Saints need a corner. Look, you have Alontae Taylor, you have Kool-Aid McKinstry. You traded Marshawn Lattimore during the season. Paulson Adebo walked in free agency. He's a New York Giant now. So you have two pretty good corners in your starting lineup. Two things. One, you have nobody behind those two guys, and Alontae Taylor has played a lot more in the slot in his NFL career than he has as a true outside corner. He's done it in college, but as far as the Saints go, he's a lot more comfortable in that slot nickel role. So I do think you need a corner. When you look at Jalen Ramsey and the New Orleans Saints, there are a lot of connections. Okay, when Brandon Staley was with the Los Angeles Rams, Jalen Ramsey was there. He had one of his best seasons as a pro. Brandon Staley has credited Jalen Ramsey. He said he's one of the biggest reasons why he got the Los Angeles Chargers coaching job after just 1 year as Rams defensive coordinator.
Okay. I'll let him go on a little longer. Now, it's obvious. The Saints should not trade for Jalen Ramsey. Ladies and gentlemen, Jalen Ramsey, good player. Jalen Ramsey, not what the Saints need right now. Bottom line. 30 years old. Good player. Again, like this is not a on-the-field type situation. He's been good. 30 years old. You would have to trade for him, which means giving up assets, more than likely picks. And you would have to take on, what is it? Back of the napkin, like $20 million? Something like that. Those are two things the Saints should not be doing. Two things the Saints shouldn't be doing is trading away draft capital in order to acquire a player. And then another thing is paying players, older players, a 30-year-old cornerback. Those don't add up, okay? None of that adds up for the Saints. I'll make a prediction. I think Jalen Ramsey will go to one of two places, the Commanders or the Falcons. Falcons, why? This is both teams have a similar reason why I picked those two teams. If you can get it, extra points. Both those teams have a quarterback on a rookie contract, so you freed up money. All right, you have money that's freed up. You have a rookie contract quarterback. Both of them in the first round, which means they have their fifth-year option. Not that it matters, but Atlanta, because of Raheem Morris. Okay, obviously. Washington, they're in a win-now mode. They traded for Lattimore last year. Controversial yet brave returns. So this would be another way to shore up that defense. I think this makes a lot of sense for Washington to go and get Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, and try and win now. Saints don't have that. Saints don't have the luxury. Now let's talk about the actual schematic situation. I've said this before, so I'll keep it brief. What Brandon Staley wants his cornerbacks to do is basically play. It's not all the time, so this isn't always. But he's asking them to basically play zone, sit in his zone, and react in that zone. And when you do that, you inherently devalue the individual cornerback because you're not asking them to do anything independent. You're not asking them to be on an island. You're not asking them to follow around the best receiver. You're not asking them to be shut down, locked down, whatever. You're not asking them to be man on man. So if you're devaluing the player, you should be devaluing the contract. But in this situation, the contract is static. So the better way to do it is to find someone in the draft who can deliver what you want Jalen Ramsey to deliver, a certain level of it, for a rookie contract. That's what you should do. You should not trade for 30-year-old Jalen Ramsey.
He has a lot of respect for a guy like Jalen Ramsey. On the flip side of things,
son,
when
where'd
the Saints
you find
announced
this?
that they were hiring Brandon Staley.
Damn! Did you see the tech deck? Did you see my guy bust out the damn kick flip with the tech deck? That was unbelievable. In my face, staring me down still. Still staring me down. I didn't get a haircut like this to be stared down, all right? My man did a 180 kick flip into a dark slide with the tech deck in the middle of talking to me. Damn.
Is their next defensive coordinator. Jalen Ramsey retweeted it. He said, my guy. He put the fire emoji. Like, these two certainly like each other. They have a lot of respect for each other. They would probably like to reunite. Should the Saints want it? Obviously, Jalen Ramsey has been
They should want it, but they should not do it.
a great player in this league for a number of years.
Yeah, he's sweet.
He's a little bit past his prime, though. He's old for his position, but he can still play a little. Like, if you look at his numbers from a year ago, he started all 17 games. He had 2 interceptions, 60 total tackles. Like, yeah, he had a good year. He had a sack. But he's 31 years old. He's moved around a little bit, and I think the Dolphins would ask too much in return to get it.
I mean, even if it's like a third, let's just say it's a third. Even if you're asking for, which I think would be high, but if you're asking for a third, it's way too much. Asking for a fourth, way too much. This is the kind of move that a win-now team with money does. It's 2 things the Saints are not right now. Is a win-now team, and we don't have money, thanks to Derek. So that should eliminate the Saints pretty quickly from the conversation. Again, Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Washington makes a lot of sense. You can go look through the league at quarterbacks who are on cheap contracts. They're in the mix. Even a team like a team that would come to mind, like a win-now team is like Baltimore, who needs to shore up their secondary. But it's very difficult to do that when you have high-paid players. You know, so like these kind of deals, it's not like the rich get richer in these situations. These deals are very specific. These are for teams with cash who are trying to win now in a very tight window. Commanders have a very tight window. That window is Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. That's their window. So, you know, that's why it's like, whatever, 2 years, something like that. So Jalen Ramsey's age, all that fits right into it. I think Washington makes the most sense, but if you want to try and find a landing spot for Jalen, that's a good look at the teams who have the win now rookie quarterback or rookie contract.
And the Saints don't have anything to give up. What would they be willing to give up for him? Hopefully nothing.
Well, they actually do. Like, they have 2 third-round picks, so they could give up a third. But like I said, a third I think is way too much.
They don't make this move. Again, Miami's going to ask a lot. You don't have much to give up. I definitely think you need a cornerback, just not an aging guy who's on the wrong side of 30, who's a high price, who you're going to have to trade for and probably give up a lot asset-wise.
You got to pay.
Now, I don't think that this cornerback class in the upcoming NFL draft is especially deep. Look, I really like Will Johnson. I'd be okay if the Saints took him at 9. I think you need a corner that bad. I like Jedi Barron from Texas. I think he's a really good player. Those 2 guys seem like they're both going to go in the first round. Outside of that, I mean, you certainly have talent. I think it's a big drop-off, though. I mean, Siobhan Revel's been a guy that's been talked about. He's kind of a fringe first-round player out of East Carolina. You have Trey Amos from Ole Miss. He had kind of an up-and-down college career, certainly made some plays. He was on a bad defense at Ole Miss, but, I mean, he stood out at times. Maxwell Hairston at Kentucky, again, on a pretty bad defense. made some flash plays. At times didn't look so great. Now, Maxwell Harrison was the fastest player at the NFL Combine, so he does.
Yeah, I think it's deep. I think the cornerback room is pretty deep, honestly, because you got your top-heavy guys in Barron and Johnson, which I hope the Saints don't entertain. But then the drop-off isn't that severe with Ravel, Harrison, even if you're getting into like Azariah Thomas from Florida State, like drop-off is not that much. I think you can find good secondary players late in the draft to do the job that you need them to do.
Does have that going for him. I think whether it's Amos, Revel, Maxwell Harrison, I think one of those guys could be there at 40. So maybe even if you don't grab a Will Johnson or a Jedi Barron in the first round, you could get a solid quality corner at 40. Do I think any of those guys are game changers? No, at least not their rookie season. At least not from what I've seen from any of them. Look, again, Harrison, fastest player at the Combine. Trey Amos, solid player in the SEC. Both of those guys have SEC starting experience. That means a lot to someone like me. And then Siobhan Revel, yeah, he was at East Carolina, but he's a guy that continues to rise up draft boards. A lot of teams really like his potential at the next level. They're all options. I wouldn't call them home runs, but they're solid additions. Problem comes.
I also don't think you can really hit a home run in the cornerback position. I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier, where the cornerback position is relatively, like, there's no such thing really as a home run in today's NFL by what you're asking them to do. Like, I don't know if y'all watch baseball, but Joey Votto was a player for the Reds. Joey Votto was like considered one of the best hitters in baseball. And Joey Votto got a big contract. He was an MVP level player, cornerstone player for the Reds, whatever. But Joey Votto's problem was he was willing to draw walks, which sounds good, right? Like, it sounds good when a hitter is willing to draw walks and will get on base. But that's not what you're paying him to do, right? Like, every time he took a walk, on one hand, he is getting on base. But on the other hand, he's devaluing himself because he's not putting the ball in play. He's not hitting the ball. They're paying him to be a hitter. Anybody can get a walk, right? A walk between two players is the exact same. So Votto kind of had this weird paradox where it's like, even when he was doing good stuff, like getting walks, working the count, whatever, he wasn't reaching that value that the Reds needed him to. Okay, they would have rather him swing, try and put the ball in play, versus work the count, get walked. That's how I feel like about the cornerback position, where every time a corner just plays zone, or every time a team just drops back into that too high shell or some variant of it, and say, hey, don't get beat deep, keep it in front of you. Give a little wiggle room if you have to, but keep it in front of you, don't get beat deep. Every time a team does that, all the cornerbacks are kind of, all of a sudden, they're lesser in independent value. So you have to look at it like that, and that could change, right? Like, that could certainly change in 5 years or whatever if the NFL evolves. Similar to the running back position. 10 years ago, we had this weird time with running backs where it was basically like rotational. Like, running backs were getting like 12 to 15 carries a game, getting a couple catches, they're rotating a lot. And when you do that, all of a sudden, the individuality, the value drops. And now it's like more of a rotation, more of like two running backs or a dual threat situation. And we saw that, right? All of a sudden, what happened? Fantasy football. No running backs getting drafted. We saw, and it still is, a popular trend to not draft a running back and just try and wait, see which running back in which committee kind of pops up, right? Like, that was a known fantasy football strategy. We saw running backs quit getting drafted in the first round because of that. Now it's kind of shifting to where now, the lead back and the bell cow back is back. A whole lot of back, Iggy Azalea style. So you got to factor in a lot of that other stuff, especially at a position like cornerback or safety. Safety's the same.
Comes in. What if you don't want to invest a first or second round pick in a cornerback? Again, I think there's a big drop off between Johnson and Barron and those three. After those first five, though, I think there's a huge drop off to the next guy.
I don't think so.
I like Zy Alexander. He's had some injury concerns. I think he's a guy that you could get, round 4 potentially. Other than him, though, who do you have? Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. I mean, he's a fine player. I don't know if he's a day one starter in the NFL. So if you're the Saints and you
Well, you also don't need a day one start. You need like your third or fourth corner. Like, that's really what we're talking about here. Kool-Aid and Alante are going to be 1 and 2. So now you're talking about like, all right, you're not really looking for like, hey, who's going to be our guy? You're looking for like who can be a rotational piece, who can be a third, fourth cornerback, like who can figure this thing out. So it's not as, it's not as bad, I don't think, as to where you're just, it's just porous at the position.
don't want to spend a first or second round pick on a corner, you might say, hey, go after a guy like Jalen Ramsey. And I get it. But again, what are you willing to give up? I think you're going to have to give up a pick somewhere in rounds 2 or 3 and possibly a player as well.
I mean, what was Ramsey's deal? Wasn't he traded for a third? Wasn't the original deal to Miami like a third and a fifth? Someone double check me. I'm sure there's always contract stuff, but so I don't think you're giving up a second. You're not going to trade. It's not going to be more. I think it would be somewhere in that third, fourth territory. Third seems like a lot, so that's probably the cap. But
and that hasn't been,
especially if you're also like, I think Miami's in kind of a pseudo soft rebuild. So they may just want someone to take the contract. So it might be like you get them for a fourth because you're paying. I don't know, but it's not a second.
reported. I'm just spitballing here. That's just kind of what we've seen from similar players of Jalen Ramsey's stature. I think Jalen Ramsey's got, 2 years of good football left in him, but you'd have to take on his big contract. You'd have to give up assets to get him. I don't know if you can afford to do that right now. Like, if you're the Saints, you want to get younger. You don't want to bring in a 31.
Younger and cheaper. And like this guy just said, if he's got 2 more years in him, 2 good years in him, are the Saints preparing to win in the next 2 years? No. All right, it's not really in the cards. It's not where they're at right now.
Your old cornerback with a big contract. You already have guys like that. You already have aging players on big contracts. Why would you want to add to that?
I'm not saying we should.
You love doing it, but
damn, brother.
I mean, why would you want to add another old player on a big contract?
I'm not saying we should.
I personally would draft a corner in this upcoming NFL draft.
That's what I said.
But even if they don't, what about free agency?
Sure. Quit screaming at
There's
me.
some guys out there.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be cheaper than Jalen Ramsey, and they're free agents. You wouldn't have to give up anything for them.
Yeah, obviously.
As far as the guys that are available at the cornerback position that are relatively young, Shaquille Griffin's out there. He was with Minnesota last year. I mean, he's had an up and down NFL career, but if you want to add a veteran, he made $4.5 million last year.
Not a bad way to make a living.
Emmanuel Mosley's out there. Asante Samuel Jr. was with the Chargers last year. He made $1.8 million. That's an option. Now, C.J. Henderson, big name. He's played in some big games. He didn't play football last year.
C.J. Henderson, big name? To who? C.J. Henderson's family?
He made over $5 million in Pittsburgh. Didn't play. He's only 26 years old, but is that a guy you like? Is that a guy you can bring in? Now, again, he's been out of football for a year, but
I thought he was saying another cornerback's name. Is that a guy you like? Doesn't that sound like a name? Is that a guy you like? Is that a guy? Is that a guy? Is that a guy? That's a strong name. Is that a guy, Skrmetta? That's a strong name. Damn. Is that a guy? I thought he was rattling off another free agent. It's like C.J. Henderson. You got Asante Samuel Jr. You got Zadagai. I mean, we got a lot of people. I was ready to hear about the scouting report on Zadagai.
what could you do with a guy like that?
A guy like that has a hell of a name too. A guy like that.
Outside of that, though, I mean, what do you have? Trayvon Mullen, who's been a disappointment.
Trayvon Mullen.
Kendall Sheffield hasn't lit the world on fire.
Trayvon Mullen and Kendall
Caleb Farley
Sheffield.
from the Panthers, he's been a disappointment.
Caleb Farley from Tommy Boy?
You kind of get the point.
Yeah,
There's some guys out there.
Do I?
You don't really have any game changers, whether it's free agency or the draft. But I do like the first 4 to 5 options in this corner spot. I don't think it's a deep class. However, I think it's top heavy. If you can land one of those 4 or 5 corners and then include Zy Alexander in there as well, I like that. So there's 5 to 6 guys you'd maybe be happy with. I think they're going to have to draft a corner in this class. None of those free agents I named move the needle at all for me. And then if you're the Saints, you're going to have to give up multiple assets to get Jalen Ramsey coming in, who's 31 years old, so he's on the wrong side of 30. And
This guy's staring me down. Hasn't even thought about blinking. I mean, I feel like I'm Clint Eastwood in a Western.
going to have to take on his
Look
contract.
at this. Blink first. Who blinks first?
I don't know if you want to do that. I certainly do not.
Okay, I'll blink. Who's it going to
We'll see
be?
what they decide to do. And I mean, look, Jalen Ramsey,
got him.
great player, right? I mean, he's been a 3-time first-team All-Pro.
This guy's out of
Defensive
control.
Rookie of the Year. He's been to 7 Pro Bowls in his career. Jalen Ramsey can play.
I kind
How
of like
much longer can he play at
this
that
guy's
level?
jib.
What are you willing to give up for him? We'll see. If I'm the Saints, I say no thanks. But if you're desperate enough for a corner, keep an eye on this. This may be a move that the Saints feel that they have to make.
Wow.
Damn, that was nuts. That was a roller coaster ride. I like this guy. There's something about him, something about his eyes. It's a terrifying hombre. I like the. I mean, look, I give these guys a lot of flack when they step up to the mic and they get in front of the face of the franchise. But this guy right here came to play. He just gave me 9 minutes on some random cornerbacks, Zadagai Jones or whatever his name was. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. That cough button got the work, but he never missed a beat. Blinked, I think, 3 times the entire video. I like this guy. I don't know his name, and I don't want to know his name because I'm kind of terrified of him. I believe he lives in a one bedroom apartment, no furniture inside of it. Why does he need it? You know what I mean? All he's got, game tape. This kind of guy right here, no streaming services, but a huddle.com account. Doesn't have a TV. Who needs it? He's got a laptop. He's got rivals. He's watching high school tape. I respect that. I mean, this guy right here, this is a gamer. This is a ball knower. This is somebody, I respect. I might respect more than anyone on earth right here. So if y'all know who this guy is, tell him that the face of the franchise approves. And I'm sure, I would imagine that means more than, really anything else in this world. So, yeah. Hey, kudos to this cat. I'm not even sure what the hell we were talking about. I hope you enjoyed it. Get on down in the comments below. I mean, this guy, no blink. God, no. I'll see y'all. I gotta go take a walk or something. I'll see y'all in the next video.